Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bog Panda. I am Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment, send your nudes to Kelly, hit up our merchandise store, whatever it is you need to do to get the word out there.
Yeah, and again, Twitter handle at Official Pagan. Just slide into those DMs there and send those photos that way. That'll be just fine. So we're kind of over the past or next couple shows doing some stuff around packing some things that might have come in through Christmas or around the holidays, new acquisitions, and I've talked about it a while back that Mike he shared his experience with the Atari Fight Stick, and it sounded pretty appealing to me as I sat with a Super Console X device and then an AtGames Legends Core device. And good ways to play it. But then I started to look at that mammoth joystick, dual joystick mechanic with a nice big box below it to store all kinds of goodies. I said that may be the way to go. And I kind of load all these devices into it, put a little switch on it so I can jump between the two of them, and away I go. So I now am the proud owner of an Atari Fight Stick. Got the version that did not come with the RetroPie in it, just so it was just the joystick, the main unit, and the trackball on that, because I'm like, I don't need another system. I got, got enough here.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different options for anybody who is interested. They have models without the trackball. There's ones with the RetroPie and different things like that. So there's like 5 or 6 different iterations of this you can pick up.
Yeah, and what it is ultimately, particularly if you don't get it with the RetroPie, I mean, it's true no matter what. This is a big joystick. It's a really, really big joystick, and that you're plugging in through USB into a device to be your joystick, which is great. And so I had anticipated, as we kind of talked about it, that when I opened up that little cover, that I was going to see all sorts of different ports for me to, I can HDMI in here and I can plug this in here. And this is like, nope, it's a joystick. So you've got your USB connection to connect it as a joystick. Now it reads as 2 joysticks. So when you actually connect, the player 1 and player 2 are there, and you can map to them and you can do all that good stuff. So it's really 2 joysticks. But beyond that, while there's a lot of available wires and connections for you to look at, that has to do a lot with if you're doing some additional wiring or swapping out hardware or all that. But the primary connection is one USB connection, which serves to kind of go in and then either into the RetroPie in there or the Super Console X, or what I had hoped was the AtGames Legends Core. But that's where the trouble begins. So Super Console X, plugged it in, came up just great. I've been able to, for things that are kind of gamepad oriented, where particularly you're dealing with kind of the 4 buttons and a joystick kind of deal, and a select and the start button, can map that up pretty quick. And so like all the Super Nintendo games and all those types of things got into that pretty quick. And really, I like the quality of the hardware. Joystick's great. As Mike has mentioned on the session, it's a big boy. It's not a small device, but for particularly game pad oriented things, it worked like a snap. So that actually worked out pretty well. What I've got to sort out is when I get into more complicated controlling situations, getting it to act like a PS3 controller or a Nintendo 64 controller. It appears that most of that is going to be increasing my knowledge of RetroArch. So on the Super Console X, you have Emulec, which is basically the kind of interface. It's really the coin ops of Super Console X. So it's the interface that sits across the top, can connect all your cores, will show all the menuing and those types of systems there, so you can kind of look at that. And then RetroArch is really the engine that runs the emulation. It's got all the cores in it, and it does everything there. And so mostly through RetroArch is where you get into configuration. Here's how I want to, I've got a controller. It does a pretty good job at recognizing that it doesn't specifically call it an Atari Fight Stick, but it has kind of gives it up a unique name. And so I've been able to kind of work on that, but I've got to just dig in a little bit deeper to say, okay, what's the button mapping I need to do to have this operate right when I'm doing emulation of a Nintendo 64 versus Super NES, whatever. And then I'll probably still, for the Amiga stuff, so much of that stuff has a keyboard element to it. I was going to have to do this anyway. I'll still have to have a keyboard connection as well, which should be no problem. But so good start on the Super Console X. And so I'm pretty confident once I figure out the mapping stuff, and I can kind of save that per environment, the mapping. So I'll be able to kind of easily cruise through and enjoy the games with the Fight Stick just fantastically. Um, where the challenge comes in is with the Legends Core, which, and maybe some of our listeners can correct me. I've already posted something in one of the Atgames Facebook groups. I haven't heard anything back yet. Um, so this isn't really a problem with the Atari Fight Stick, I guess. It's more a problem with the Legends Core, is that it doesn't recognize it. I plug it in and it says, you don't have a controller connected. It's like, yes, I do. I have a controller connected, but it doesn't bring it up to map or whatever. Whereas if I take like an Xbox controller, Xbox One controller, and connect it via USB, the Legends picks up on that right away. And understands that that's going there, but it didn't give any sort of indication that it knew what a Fight Stick was. So it didn't show up as anything, not even unrecognized. So if any of our listeners have run into that and solved it, great. If I have a hunch this is more an AtGames thing and ultimately a firmware thing that say it needs to be able to kind of pick up the signal on that. But that was the only disappointment because I was really looking forward to having just that little toggle to switch between the two main groups and fire it off that way. But it's not quite. Well, actually, probably two toggles because I'm going to also have two HDMI feeds coming out that have to go to the projector, which is where I'll be kind of primarily using the Fight Stick. But as advertised, as you discussed it, really sturdy, good solid controls. Definitely can nestle my Super Console X in there without a problem. And now that I'm back to being a 3D printer, I can go ahead and kind of come up with a bit of a case for inside there that I can kind of lightly screw down in and then just nestle there. And so I won't have it sliding around. I think you probably accomplish the same thing with stapling some elastic and sliding underneath there. But it'll be cooler to print a little cradle for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll play with that. So I get around to that. Kind of show you that, but the overall, except my major disappointment is that at this point in time, I'm not seeing how I'm going to be able to use this with my Legends Core. Any of our readers who are sharper than I am that can correct me, please do.
Yeah, I would definitely be curious to see. I have not tried to use it with my Core. I used it with Super Console X, just like you did. I only tried it. So the issues you're saying, like I've had tons of control issues with certain systems, particularly Nintendo 64. So that to me has been something that's just been across the board. But when I used it for like regular fighting and arcade style games, I had no problems with the Atari Fight Stick and getting that set up.
Yeah, it is. And while I've been kind of not picking on AtGames, but suggesting it was their problem, there is, the Fight Stick itself says, hey, I'm compatible with Linux, Windows 7, 8, 9, 10, a original version of the Xbox, Mac, PC. So it lists a number of things, and the Super Console X Linux based, so good to go on that. But I don't know what the underlying operating system is for the AtGames.
That's true. Yeah, we don't know what that is. And it also works obviously with Raspberry Pi as well, because the preloaded version of it comes on a Atari branded Raspberry Pi that comes preloaded with. You can get a couple different options. I got the one with the most games, which was like 250 games or something like that. So it's a preloaded Raspberry Pi with that. Again, that's running off of Linux though.
Yep. So we'll have to check it out, but excited to do it. Really like the quality of it. Just want to kind of crack the code on AtGames if I can. because that would be a nice way. Although I did, the AtGames controller does sync very nicely wirelessly with the core, and so I've been primarily doing that. So that's actually not too bad to do that, but it's still a handheld controller versus for your button and joystick setup. And so there's some times where that's actually going to be a little better to use. So we shall see.
I've mostly for the core, I've mostly used the 8-bit DO controllers that I have. If anybody's looking for just regular, not something large like the Fight Stick, but just regular USB controllers, they are really excellent, and they have a wide line of different options you can get on Amazon for those, from like small joysticks, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, or Genesis style controllers, versions of those with analog sticks. I mainly use the Super Nintendo style with analog sticks on it.
Nice, cool. Yep, we'll include a link to that as well, just so if you're looking and that's something you're interested in, you can check it out. Cool. All right, I think that's the retro gaming content we got for today. You have anything to add, sir?
No, I'm very excited to see what you do with 3D printing something for inside there. I think that's a really cool project.
That'll be fun. Now that I'm getting cocky, finally got the 3D printer start working again. So hopefully you'll get future updates. If not, I'll just be sad. So thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.